Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, SCS Nation? Welcome to another episode of Surviving the Survivor, the podcast that promises to bring you the very best guests in all of true crime. This is a special Lunch Live edition from Orlando covering the Sarah Boone trial. I hope everyone is doing well. This is going to be a challenging Lunch Live, and I'll tell you why. I use my iPad for notes and the phone to stream, and my notes are all on the phone, and usually through Wi-Fi and Bluetooth they're supposed to go over to my iPad, but they have not. So I'm working off of zero notes, so I will have to use my rather poor memory. And I'll start with this. A lot of people are now, and by the way, Susan Constantine, a body language expert, a jury selection our jury consultant. She's just doing a quick interview with Fox, and then she's going to hop over here and join us and give us her take. So that'll be interesting. And I'm periodically just checking to see where my notes are, but they're not popping up. So so be it. So, one of the things that's happening, I think, are, and rightly so, people who are watching are kind of getting swayed with each movement by the defense. It's undeniable that the defense is actually doing a good job with what they have. They are working their case. They've got really bad facts, as lawyers like to say, not a lot to work with, yet they're making a good case of saying and showing that Sarah Boone was in fact a victim of DV. As a matter of fact, the last witness, there were 5 or 6 witnesses today. So in total, the defense has brought 6 or 7 witnesses. But the last witness today was a recall witness, the digital forensics expert, and she didn't say anything on the stand other than spelling her name for the record. But what did happen is they played video that she was pulling off of Sarah Boone's phone, and this video depicts George Torres in so many words saying he can't stand the TV set and he's going to destroy it. That's the first video, and he's using salty language. And then I'll get back to that in a second, Monique Dawn. And the second video, he is actually taking a baseball bat to a flat screen TV and smacking it and hitting it and shattering it. It's kind of interesting how hard it is to actually destroy a flat screen TV. But that is obviously to show his violent tendencies, that he's using this baseball bat, which, by the way, as far as we know, has never been used against Sarah Boone that I know of. Which people are getting swayed from Monique Dawn, Jurors, the gallery? I just think in general, I was referring really to the to what I was seeing in the live chat more than I am in the courtroom. I think courtroom observers, for the most part, feel like the state still has the upper hand. You can never, ever tell, though. Colleen R. here. Is Brian Boone going to be called? How do you think he'll affect the jury's views? I think the state may recall him. I don't think the defense is going to call him, but the state may bring him back in their rebuttal. Hey, Joel DiMaggio, keep things flowing as usual. Coffee. Thank you so much, Kelly. That's really sweet. Really appreciate these super chats, super stickers, and the rest. It goes a long way, believe it or not, for us. So thank you. Hey, Joel from Liverpool, UK. How does the tension feel between counsel today in comparison to yesterday? So today, yesterday was the big day, obviously, with, Sarah testifying, and there was a palpable tension in the air when you got to the courtroom. Today, way more relaxed. I had not seen any of the jurors smile or laugh. Today, at almost every sidebar, they're talking to each other. They're smiling. They're laughing. Not that they're not taking it seriously. I get the sense, you don't get the sense, but I get the sense that maybe a lot of them have come to their own conclusion already and obviously are still weighing the evidence. But it seems like there's this burden that has been removed from the jurors. And of course, when Susan Constantine gets here, we'll ask her about that. Just so you know, it is 11:27 Eastern Time. Court is set to resume at 12:50 p.m. So in a little over an hour and 20 minutes. And the judge is going to take up just a couple of small issues. The jury is expected to be brought back in at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. I had the pleasure of, I won't get into details, but James Owens and I were side by side in the men's room for a few moments and started talking. It's what men tend to do. And he brought it up. He said, man, I'm trying to get this done for everyone as fast as I can. I think we're going to arrest today. I said, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So he is looking for sure to rest today. There's a Dr. Harper that flew in who's going to be called apparently later this afternoon. And then I guess it just depends on the defense rebuttal. Can't see that taking very long. I have a hunch we could see closings as soon as tomorrow, certainly by Friday, and then deliberations. From Silky Keller, if I'm saying it correctly, and I love that name if I am, do you think it is possible that she might be acquitted? Anyone will tell you who watches trials or understands juries and the law, and I could ask Susan Constantine this, 1,000%. I mean, there's always a chance. There's a chance for everything. Just like in a boxing match, Mike Tyson was fighting Jake Paul in November. Mike Tyson's over 60 years old, or at least 60 now, and fighting a guy who's like 24, 25. The 24, 25-year-old should beat him at this point, but there's always a puncher's chance. Mike Tyson's puncher's chance is a much better option than a typical person. So maybe not the best analogy, but you get what I'm saying. There's always a puncher's chance when it comes to juries. You just need one. And keep in mind, there is a panel of 6 here with 8 alternates. I'm not sure. I've been trying to figure out who 1 through 6 are. They're likely in the front row. There are 7 seats in the front row. So we don't know if 1 through 6 is being counted left to right or right to left. But either way you go, left to right or right to left, the domestic violence juror, the DV juror, who experienced it and will be a witness in her own ex-husband's case where he allegedly beat her up, she is among those 6. So we believe she is a actual jury panel member and not an alternate. She's been taking a lot of notes. My gut feeling with her is that she's not. This is a gut feeling. What's up, my man Myron Sanchez? I love seeing him. My gut feeling on this is she's not buying the DV. Is she herself is a DV victim, and so I think she sees through Sarah. Now there's a female juror, front row, second from the left, who would also be a jury member, if I'm correct. Today she's in a bright pink blouse. Yesterday a patterned blouse. She's one juror. She was eager to get on the jury, and she has been nodding her head like in the affirmative when the doctor was testifying, the forensic psychologist today, when he was testifying as a defense expert witness. She's been nodding her head, and occasionally we'll look at Sarah and do this. Now, this could mean, yeah, I agree with you, but this could also mean, yeah, you're full of you know what. I don't know. It's really tough to read her. She's one that stands out. Again, curious to get Susan Constantine's take on all this. By the way, I don't want credit, but I am doing this sans notes because my Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, whatever connects my iPad to my iPhone, excuse me, is not working. Whatever happened to the witnesses that were coming on Friday for the, so they flew in earlier. You're seeing them today, and this doctor was supposed to be here tomorrow, but she, look at this, shout out from Highland Park, New Jersey, my hometown. Grew up on South 5th, then moved to South Park on the north side. Please say hello to Highland Park, New Jersey. Go into Haven and say hi to Carmen, one of my old friends. That just love to hear that and love to see that. I miss my hometown. but it's a lot warmer in Orlando. Now I totally lost my train of thought. How is SB today? I see Kaviana asking. She seems more serious today. Yesterday was a big show for her. She had the opportunity to get up there and present her case. Today, she's relegated back to the defense table, again talking um, James Owen's ear off. Hi from Switzerland. That's where my grandmother lived. Could it be that jurors get to know each other better and that's why they smile and chat more? I think 100%. There's a bit of a camaraderie. People they're not allowed to talk about the case, but they're allowed to talk about their son's baseball game, about their kids' gymnastics, about what their wives are doing, etc. So there's a camaraderie that is built up, and I think that they are definitely feeling more comfortable with each other. My disdain for Sarah Boone has softened. Perhaps 4+ years of jail has softened her. That is interesting. She just comes across to me as on the stand totally different than she does while not on the stand. So when the defense was questioning her, she just had this really meek sort of persona. Her persona changes when she's at the defense, where she's now a control freak in charge, telling people what to do and when to do it. Thank you so much, Penny. These really help a lot again, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Joel, do you feel that the state's cross-examination was ineffective yesterday, please? The short answer is I don't know. What I do know is Will J has close to 30 years experience in this courthouse. By the way, that is the courthouse right behind me, the Orange County Courthouse. And he knows what he's doing. And sometimes less is more. And one of the points I was going to make at the very top, which I'm going to make now, which people inside the courtroom are talking about, well, all this is going on, and you're hearing from the psychologist, and you're hearing from the digital forensics expert, and you're hearing from the other expert, and then the next expert. What people tend to lose sight of in those moments is the suitcase video. It is undeniable what was going on there. And then the second suitcase video. It is a horror show, and it is a horror show for the defense. And that's why they're doing everything to portray Sarah as the victim. Now, we talked about this yesterday. Thank you so much, Penny Lou. I really appreciate it. The state is doing everything to portray Sarah Boone as the victim, and they should. That's their job. Whether it's true or not, thank you, Best Nancy. Whether it's true or not, we simply do not know. But what we do know, and what we talked about yesterday, is it's not mutually exclusive. You can be the you can be the victim and the victimizer at the same time, and I think that's what's going on here. For Fisher Price raincoats. Thank you, Leo Wren. It's not one thing, it's the other. I wouldn't, Apple is a little upgraded from Fisher Price, but last night's Wi-Fi connection was destroying me, which hopefully we will fix today. I still want to know what your guest thought of the defense's efforts to humanize Sarah Boone. Blind and deaf dogs, bunny rabbits, felt very contrived. Look, I think she scored some points with some empathetic jurors. I kind of consider myself empathetic. And so you want to believe, and here comes the state is going in once again to the Great Greek. That's where everyone eats every day. William J. and Dave Cacciatore, without their jackets on, just entered the restaurant as they have done every day. I'll say this. They seem very calm, very cool, very collected. They do not look worried at all. The defense doesn't look worried. The defense looks much calmer today, too, like they've kind of got their stuff together finally. The tension between the defense and the state seems to have been minimized. So just back to what's undeniable. Of course, the video, that's one thing. And then the other thing, imminent danger. The law, forget what you're feeling, but the law here, and the judge is going to read these instructions in order for there to be this sort of self-defense claim, which is part of battered spouse. There has to be an imminent threat. How is there an imminent threat when George Torres is in the suitcase? And the part of this that really, I don't know, that is the part of this that is, for me, a bridge too far is the 11 minutes. Now, if you recall, the defense said in opening statements, you're going to see a 2-something minute video, and 11 minutes later, you're going to see a 30-something video. Why is there nothing about George and the mutual abuse? I think the state's going to bring some of that up um, after the defense goes in their rebuttal. Anyway, getting back to this whole notion uh, with Sarah Boone and the 11 minutes. So it is too convenient that in the 11 minutes that she is not videotaping is the precise moment when George Torres becomes belligerently angry and is threatening to kill her. Um, when the forensic pathologist testified for the state, she said that George Torres was losing oxygen at an alarming rate. When you watch that video, which is tough to watch, you can hear how softly he's speaking, and he's begging for his life. He's begging for Sarah to let him out. Sarah's laughing in his face, using F-bombs, telling him, that's what you get. That's what you get for cheating on me. All those things. The state read those aloud. They're going to certainly play that video in closings. And I'll tell you this, I just don't know how you get around it. In my opinion, and I could be a juror, I'm not a lawyer, and I think these jurors know what's going on. I think they are questioning the same thing. How on earth did George suddenly muster up the energy in those 11 minutes, and she feared for her life so much that she ran up and went to bed? I mean, that part does not compute. It just does not make sense. Sarah Boone's girlfriend is not here today. I hope there is no trouble in paradise. Some people have been asking for a photo. Obviously, I cannot take one in the gallery. I like to keep personal relationships private, so I don't think I would take a photo. I don't want to drag her into this, but she is not in the court. Are the precautions that the judge, suddenly I'm my dad, I have to lift glasses up to read. How did this happen? Are the precautions that the judge is taking to ensure Sarah Boone has agreed to direction of defense typical? It seems like he's being, this judge is amazing, and he's protecting the record, as lawyers say. He's making sure that if this is appealed, that he has dotted every I and crossed every T. Joel, you're going to thank you, Julie Frew. So Carm calls me last night after I got off. I was on News Nation with Ashley Banfield, and I am supposed to be back on tonight at 10 o'clock. The minute, by the way, Carm accidentally FaceTimed me this morning. Thankfully, it was during a break. I chewed her out. She chewed me out, said, shut your phone off. I said, this is a perfect example of the the victim and the victimizer. Carm is turning me into the victimizer. She called me via FaceTime. FaceTime terrifies me because it can go off in the courtroom. I don't know how to control the tones on FaceTime. Anyway, I digress for a moment. We made up. She hung up. I'll call her later. But she called me right after I got off of News Nation because she was watching. And
Sorry, everyone. That's probably Joel's phone going off because he got a phone call. Let's give him a minute to hop back on.
Anyway, I'm back now. Sorry, someone was calling who knows that I'm doing this live, and it was not Carm. Carm called me last night, and she goes, this relationship, what no one is talking about, she said, is absolutely pathological. It's a sick relationship. She said all relationships are different, but what she couldn't believe that wasn't sort of remarked on publicly. She said that Sarah Boone obviously is not all there, and and I need Carm to explain this because she can do it much better than I. But essentially, what she was saying is just look at the two of them.
Apologies. Joel keeps getting phone calls. Stand by. He'll be back.
I'm trying to get rid of this.
Joel, are you with us?
Yeah, they're trying to call me to figure out where I am. Um,
Who's calling
so
you?
Jules, I forget her. She does some other YouTube stuff, but they keep calling me. Welcome to my life.
Can you just text
Anyway,
them and say you're live so that they don't keep calling? Thanks.
let me text them real quick. I can't because I can't get off the tripod. I'm stuck. Anyway,
Fine.
here's the text stuff. So, long story short, Carm said, and this was really interesting to me. She said, "Look at George Torres." I said, "What?" She goes, "He's 5'1", 103 pounds. It's like the size of a child. She is desperate for a child, and even though she has her own child who she's not taking care of, she's sort of what's the word? Not substituting, but use she's using George as sort of a secondary child. It's all about control, and she went into great detail about this. I told her to come on tomorrow night to explain it better. She told me she hasn't been following the case closely enough, and I said that's not an excuse. So I'll see if I can get her on. Why is there no family supporting George from Judd Drops? So there was family supporting George periodically. I think they're his sisters. They were there yesterday. They're not here today. They were here for opening statements. Maybe it's too difficult. And I don't know. Maybe it is just something that they want to be here for, maybe for closings. We're going to see what happens, obviously, when we get to closings. So I believe, again, that there were 5 witnesses. They're firing and flying through these witnesses pretty quickly. A forensic pathologist for the defense, I believe, is going to be called after lunch. And again, um, James Owen said that he plans to rest today. Some of the other witnesses who came up today, again, we saw Detective Chelsea Kepsel, who is the lead investigator on this. Just a few short questions about who responded, and the response time seemed to be a little bit redundant, and she was off the stand very quickly. Are the prosecutors that the judge is talking to, are the precautions that the judge is taking to ensure Sarah Boone has agreed to direction of defense typical? It seems like this came up already, COE. And I said he's dotting his I's and crossing his T's. Um, that last video is going to backfire on the defense. No real DV victim is going to stand and record their abuse. Very interesting. And that's a great point. I'm not a survivor of DV. I wouldn't catch that. I don't know if Kathy is or not, but that's a great point. And this is why I think this DV juror who's in a green sweater today, this is why I think that she may be very helpful to the state when it gets to deliberations. A couple other things that I just want to mention. There's this real camaraderie among the defense team. Tony Henderson, James Owens, Tony Henderson's daughter, the jury selection woman, Kevin Beck, who's the lawyer from New Mexico. They're constantly talking to each other. Now, I can see through a glass window, and Dave Cacciatore with the state and Will J are having a perfectly amicable, relaxed lunch. Um, However, when they're in the courtroom, they do not engage at all. One's doing one thing, the other's doing the other thing, and that's the way it goes. It's all business, all the time. Sarah was using George to shield her addiction and have an excuse. I have to take care of him. I love him. He's like a child. It's not my fault. I only drink because of George. Carm obviously brought up the issue of Arrested Development too, that he's into puzzles. She's into puzzles and art and feels she has to entertain him. Carm said, "This is what you do with Judah, my youngest." I don't do it that well, but I do. We keep him occupied. You got to keep him entertained. I had to sit through Transformers 1, which I didn't realize was animated. And I wanted to chew my arm off, but I sat there and messed around on my phone while my son didn't realize that I was not watching the movie. Shouldn't the DV juror have been excluded? They had these peremptory strikes that were not used. I don't know why. Do you think SB do you think they'll bring up Sarah Boone's treatment of George Torres? I don't know that they have to. That's the question from Annie K. I really don't know that they have to. What I'm learning. Hey, Susan. Hello. Jules.
Hi.
How are you? Come grab a seat, Susan. Yeah, come grab a seat. There's Susan Constantine in the flesh. Susan, I've been going for whoa. I have to like. Oh, there we go. We got a little bit of your head there.
All right.
So Susan, what is you're in the courtroom today? What is your initial take, I guess, as I adjust this?
Yeah. So today I was focused on the jury because really they're the ultimate decision makers. So I was watching to see the dynamics of the jurors and the relationships together. Who was responding to different pieces of the testimony from the expert today on the domestic violence battered syndrome expert, and which ones were really taking notes and which ones weren't. So I was able to identify, I think that probably juror number one could be a four-person by.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. So let me.
Yeah.
You're talking about the man with the comb over.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the comb over.
Yeah. So there's a juror one has a bit of a comb over, and he's the one I kept saying is so serious.
Yeah.
He has not cracked a smile. He has not changed expression. He looks like a grumpy cat, like he's angry. And today he was smiling and laughing.
Yes. So that's really good point too, Joel, because I'm seeing relationships building. There is a relationship juror number one, juror number two. She's a little chatty Cathy. Anytime during break, they're making little comments to each other and they're smiling. So there was one moment where it was during sidebar, and Sarah Boone responded to her attorney, and she smiled, and they honed in right on her. They were just dead focused right on Sarah Boone. So what does that mean? It was almost, in my opinion, and I don't want to speak for them, but it almost seemed as if they were almost mocking her. And that was a little concerning because a lot of times when jurors connect, they also vote the same way.
That's interesting. Now, are you saying that about juror two? Because she's the one who
Hot pink.
hot pink. If there's one juror who I thought, because at times she's been nodding, but I can't tell if the nod is like affirming what she's hearing or just like I just not buying.
I don't feel like she's buying it. It's really interesting because I pulled her out as being problematic for the defense. Who I feel is really connecting more with the defense is the domestic violence.
You do.
Yeah, I do. There were
How
several.
come?
There's a lot of times she gave little affirmative nods that she understood it, she got it. Now that doesn't mean that she is going to vote any sort of way. So I don't want to mislead anybody. But what that does say is I connect with it, I understand it, I hear what you're saying. Not necessarily that I believe it, but she's saying affirmative. It's like I'm listening to you. So she does it often. So what I'm looking at, which one's the jurors I'm looking for? 1, 2, 3, and 5. I just want to let you know I'm watching them. One.
Say it again.
1, 2, 3, and 5. Okay. Those three. Now I can't see the back room, which really doesn't matter because they're alternates anyway, right? What am I watching is that they're the ones that are taking copious notes. The other thing is that which most people wouldn't pick up on, who's tilting their head. Those are active listeners. So now you think about when somebody's tilting their head to one direction, what process of the brain, part of the brain are they processing? The visual or the emotional side of the brain, right? So if they tilt their head side, are they adjusting because the dynamics of the courtroom or where the expert is speaking, or they're paying attention to what the attorneys are saying, they might shift their heads. But I'm also listening, which ones are the empathetics? Who are the empaths? Definitely number 5 is an empath.
5. Which one?
She's a domestic violence.
Oh, she's the one.
Yes,
Okay.
She's an empath.
5 is. Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah.
It's funny you use that word because before you guys arrived, I was saying, if I'm a juror, I'm generally an empathetic person, and so I do think that there's no doubt that Sarah Boone was a victim, but that she's also a perpetrator, and they're not exclusive, correct?
No. And that's one of the things that, like I was on Vinny's show last night, I said, is she a victim or is she a villain? I said, she's both. It's not either or. I said she was and is, not anymore because he's not alive, but was a victim of domestic violence. I think they did a great job, the defense did, in humanizing her. She had lost 2 parents, 2 grandparents in a short period of time. She took care of special need dogs. Shows that she is an empath, right? She's a caretaker, but she can also be a controller. And also remember the expert that spoke today?
Yeah.
and he talked about the correlations of the stimulus and how you man, he and I were attached at the hip when we were talking about that, because it's exactly how I analyze people. What was the stimulus? What was the response? And the fact that she has such a fractured life.
Yeah, explain that a little more, the stimulus and the response, a little more specifically, because he
Sure.
was interesting. He also, on cross, narcissism was brought up.
Yes. Well, first of all, the stimulus, I'll talk about the narcissism in a minute, because that was something that kept coming up. The stimulus is that of the event, the occurrence. What was it that created the reaction? X and Y equals, Z. So what was the stimulus? And then you analyze what occurrence happened right after that. And then he was talking about her behavior.
Mhm.
He's doing exactly what I do for a living. What
Yeah.
was the behavior right after the stimulus and the response? So that's what was really important. Now, when they're talking about the narcissistic personality disorder, they're trying to figure out, is this a psychological disorder? Yes, it is. And so I felt that the state was trying to set groundwork that she was a narcissist, and that narcissists act in grandiose ways, that they are like vulnerable narcissists, that they're attention seekers and that sort of thing. They're controllers. They can be. They're void of emotion a lot of times. They tend to be very grandiose, and to try to create that correlation. What I loved about this expert is he really remained neutral. I mean, he was just answering the questions based on a professional on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't think it really helped or hurt either side.
Yeah, at first I thought he kind of, with all due respect, came off as a little bit of a used car salesman, and then he got much less uh, that way.
Well, he was a charismatic guy.
Yeah, he
I
was,
think that.
yeah, for sure. Um, by the way, someone, Chirdad, who's in our community, who's able to access public records. This guy in 1 year made over $1 million being an expert witness. So not a bad gig.
I'm going to change my career too.
Not a bad gig. Julie here is sitting with us. Asks, can the DV juror? Is it possible that she would be able to convince other jurors to could she sway jurors potentially one way or the other?
It depends on how strong of her personality is and how strong her story is. I think she could be a holdout.
That's interesting. Just thinking, because I've been watching her very closely. So, who do you think was the strongest witness today?
Well, I got there at 10:15.
Yeah, that means you missed 9. It went,
I missed the whole morning part of it, but I really liked the expert
Yeah.
because because I resonated with him so much with the work that he does and work I do, and I could collaborate, and I truly understood where he was coming from. And also what I liked about it is that he was able to connect so well with the jury. He was really a perfect expert witness. He knew exactly when to turn and address the jury. He knew when not to continue on. I liked his voice inflection and his tonality, so he was very engaging. And I think you have to have that in order to sell it, your position.
Yeah, I mean, he was convincing. I don't want to make it obvious, but if you look through the glass window right there, there's the state, both prosecutors, Dave Cacciatore and William J. The reason I'm bringing it up, I was telling the chat, while you're keeping an eye on the jurors, and I am too, obviously, I've been looking at the dynamics. And it's interesting. The defense, they're like a real team, constantly talking to each other. And I'm not saying that Cacciatore and Will J are not, but when they're in the courtroom, they're not really interacting. I find that really interesting. Is there anything to read into that?
It's really interesting because this is a high profile case. So we had the defense attorney that flew in and is giving a lot of his own personal time on this case. So there's a lot at stake for him, and he's really developed a really good, strong team of people that are supporting, because there's a lot at stake here, right? This is a high profile trial. The state, I got to tell you, as many cases that we have here in the state of Florida, this is just one other one.
This is unbelievable.
Just another one.
And I've heard, I have not confirmed this, that Will J, who's in there, is going to be prosecuting the Matty Soto case.
Well,
I
we're
don't know
going to
about
definitely be,
you and I,
we're
yeah,
teaming up on that one.
we're definitely going to be covering that. And Jules will be there too.
Yeah.
Jules will be there. She's behind the camera. You can't see her, and she's a cool cat.
Old lady.
What is your screen? What do you go by again?
Notorious Jewel.
Notorious Jules. Notorious Jules. Wow, look at that. And Notorious has come into play with Sarah Boone. They used the phrase or the word notorious with her. Um, one last thing. I was speaking to another lawyer who's not a criminal defense attorney. She actually watches STS uh, regularly, and she was in the courtroom. She's from Orlando, and I'm just blanking on her name right now, but I mentioned it earlier. She said, "Look, you can't get past the video. You just can't. Plus, as a lawyer, she says, you've got to have that imminent danger. How was there imminent danger? How was he getting more aggressive in the 11 minutes after she videotaped that, which is what the defense alleges? He was losing oxygen. He was dying. I mean, I think ultimately that's a real problem."
That is the problem. I don't think that the jury is going to have any problem substantiating that he was a violent person, especially when we saw him taking that bat and just beating the heck out of that television set. And every juror on there was just hyper focused, right? All of us. You could hear a pin drop. But that really isn't the issue here. That's secondary.
Mhm.
It's like when he was in that suitcase and he was crying out for help, was she really in imminent danger? She would only have been in imminent danger is if she would have unzipped him and he would have lunged at her. But that didn't occur. So she taunted him. And I think that's what's going to put the nail in her coffin.
I agree. Thank you, Jody, for this. I have to put you on the spot, Susan. What's your read overall on the jurors? Are they going to come back guilty, not guilty?
I hate to say these things because I'm not, even though I'm a trial consultant, you can't ever predict this. But I will say that there's two jurors I think that are very strong pro-state, and I do think that there's three that potentially are pro-defense. But at the end of the day, who's going to be the stronghold? Who's
Yeah.
going to be in that jury box that's going to be arguing the different facts of the case?
The comb over and potential four-person, he seems like a very strong personality
Yeah.
with a commanding presence. And I feel if he becomes the four-person, he will have the ability, and this is just my gut feeling, to maybe persuade some of the jurors who could be on the fence.
That's the whole process behind group deliberation.
There you, there you
That's
go.
how it works.
You've got the expert here, COE. Thanks for running the controls. There's one other question. This is Mossberg mom who was with me yesterday. Susan, what is your opinion? Feel better, by the way, Mossberg, of her recording the TV. Oh, this is interesting. She records the TV and does not say a word while that's going on. And I don't know if you were here or not when they just said that would not be the typical reaction of a DV victim. Your take on that?
Right, and that's the part that people are going to go, well, wait a minute, why is he just busting that TV set up? We don't know if that he says, I'm sick and tired of this TV set prior, because we're missing all the prior conversation, what led up to it, and then he starts beating it, right? So you're wondering, well, if he's got a bat in his hand, he could turn right around and wallop her on the head. But he doesn't do that. So there's so many inconsistencies. And that's where the juror's going to go, well, this would happen. Then it goes like, but did you see that? And they're going to go back and forth, back and forth. I think at the end of the day, they're going to find she's guilty.
I agree with you. I just don't think you can get past the video. I don't think you can, by the way, get past the police interviews where her stories are constantly changing and she's just basically a lunatic in there.
Yeah.
And you can't get past the imminent threat. So we're going to see only the jurors know. That's what makes trials so interesting. Appreciate everyone being here. Please hit that like button on the way out. Please subscribe. The biggest thing you can do for all of us here at STS is just tell a friend about the show. Share the show with a friend. Susan Constantine, amazing as always. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Jules, thank you for being behind the scenes and giving me questions. You're my producer. You're my field producer. Love you, America. Love you, Orlando. And we will see you. COE, you got to take us out of here. We'll see you tonight, 5:30.